special CREDAI National Conclave in New Delhi. Of course, the theme of the conclave is the game changer, real estate. But in this panel discussion, we're going to focus on rebooting real estate. Does the sector need rebooting? Well, I think everybody here on the panel and in the audience will agree and accept yes. Does the economy in India need rebooting? A bigger yes. Why are we talking about the economy and real estate? Because there's a very, very strong correlation between the two. Globally, one does understand and know that it's real estate and construction activity which can reboot the economy. Why shouldn't we then be focusing on real estate and figuring out how do we get India's economy to kickstart once again, and how does real estate be at the center stage of it all? Let me welcome my panelists today. Sushil Mantri, Getamber Anand, Lalit Kumar Jain, Mr. Reddy, and Mr. Patodia. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here with me. I think I'm going to start with that one big question before we come on to the role that real estate will play in rebooting India's economy. Yesterday's IIP figures, Sushil Mantri, were scary. You know, there's been a negative trend, another month of it, inflation at plus 11%. Are we looking at this seriously enough in terms of kickstarting the economy along with real estate?
See, we are always worried for the inflation, and our RBI is trying to increase the interest rate and control the money supply. I think that gone are the days, because more than 15 times the interest rate was hiked, but the still inflation has not came down. I personally feel if government is serious about inflation, I think they should support increase in supply. We are really not doing anything to increase the supply. We are worried about today's inflation, but just imagine after 1 year or 2 years, what kind of inflation we are going to go through, because we are not increasing the supply. Now, due to the job creation, salaries, income levels are going up, consumption pattern is increasing, and that is also putting a pressure on the demand. I think the best way is to increase the supply, and we have to go all out just to increase the supply. Definitely we can control the inflation.
Getamber, I don't think Reserve Bank of India gets that. In totality, they do talk about the supply constraints, but you know, if you hear the governors, they clearly say that you need to bring demand down as well, which according to me is a scary situation for the housing demand as well, isn't it? You've got consumer durables falling for 11th consecutive month, which is one sector which was holding on. So I'm just worried how much, whether just dampening demand can be a solution at all.
So I am, in fact, Manisha, we are so surprised. Like you said, the Reserve Bank knows all this. And we've been shouting hoarse. Real estate, construction will push up your economy, your GDP, because it triggers so many industries. And demand, come on, everybody knows there's a shortage in housing. Where's the rocket science in that? The figures keep shouting at us that there's a demand, there's a shortage, It's not that we are trying to create an oversupply and push houses down people's throats. It's so simple, but yet we are surprised that policymakers refuse to see the simplicity of the solution they have right in front of them. And we people are so enthusiastic to partner in this growth, we are not pushing prices up. Our input costs have gone up. Don't they realize that? RBI has again said, this is a risky sector, sensitive sector, be careful. Banks, be careful while you lend to them. Right. So why don't you just understand this, that it's either, what does the RBI want? Do they want to stop the real estate industry altogether? Or they want to use it to their advantage to grow IIP and the GDP? It's so simple, like you just said. But why don't they see it? It's the writing on the wall.
America sees it, Lalitji. They know how closely construction and real estate activities are. In fact, if you read any Amar Chitra Katha, jab सूखा पड़ता था, जब कुछ, even in those olden days, what were the kings doing? They used to just start a large project. They would start constructing a fort, they would start some public works, they would start doing some amount of construction to get economy. Those days, I'm talking about 500 years ago to kickstart the economy. But we're just not unable to focus, and we're missing this large piece on real estate. How is it that CREDAI as a body has not been able to drive that point?
Manisha, I think we are aggressive to the point that it irritates
It's getting embarrassing.
and especially embarrasses the government. I'll give you the numbers. We have a 70 lakh crore economy. Housing sector contributes 4 lakh crore directly. But do you know, housing services contributes 8 lakh crore. So housing industry as such is 12 lakh crore, 18% of economy.
Correct.
Now, we submitted our research. We wanted RBI to come out of that mindset, which is highly prejudiced towards real estate sector. Not only RBI, I would say authorities at all level in government, they have this notion. On the contrary, if you see what happened in 1998, government took bold reform decisions and 3 things. National housing policy, we were actively participating in it. ATIA to support infrastructure and IT parks,
Right.
and ATIB for housing. What happened? 1998 industries were shut across the country. And these 3 things, stamp duties were reduced in many states, etc., kick-started the growth.
Right.
So housing may contribute 6% to GDP. Its impact is 18%, but the higher impact is that it is a growth engine. It starts the growth.
Right.
Now, we have been shouting, we have been trying to make a point, but unfortunately, those who meet us in the evening are not willing to meet us in the morning. Now, the problem is they don't want to listen to the reason, and their prejudice is weighing heavy against the country's interests.
Mr. C.S. Reddy, why do you think there's such an apathy? Is it simply because land housing is a state-level subject, so there is a complicity of policy making as well? You have a center taking some decisions. They can't really be implemented at a state level because there's a state government which thinks through. There's a lot of political engagement with an interest in land, isn't it? Is that the big reason why there's a literally, let's say, a policy jam lock?
In fact, in our earlier convention, as long as I think in our Genting convention I referred, there is no apex ministry in this country who exclusively takes care of the housing.
What does the housing ministry do at the center?
No, housing means in the sense, this apex body, suppose you are talking about regulatory authority, that regulatory authority should concern about the housing of the country, not deciding every state their own policies. Some states are good, they are very proactive. Sometimes the government of India is proactive in certain issues. For example, if you take the entire game change. See, now today what we are practicing is outdated FSI.
Absolutely.
But if you see Andhra Pradesh, in 2006 itself, they have taken a very proactive policy decision. There is no FSI concept in Andhra Pradesh. So sky is the limit. For a lot of investors have come there. Because of some political uncertainty is there. But today, if you can see what everybody is talking about affordable housing, government of India, every state government, who is implementing is only Andhra Pradesh government is implementing affordable housing. For example, Hyderabad prices are about 60 to 70% cheaper than the Chennai properties, corresponding locations in the city. That means policies will change, revolutionary, game change.
So there are states which are more progressive, there are states which are not progressive enough. But I think overall, Mr. Patodia, if you look at some of the challenges which are common across the industry, I think the biggest problem that the industry faces today, which adds to the cost of housing and cannot allow the industry, or at least industry says they can't bring the prices down, is just the time it takes for approvals, right? And there are enough reports to say that there are at least 40 to 100 approvals differing from state to state. How can't we even fix something as simple as that?
You see, CREDAI as a whole, we've been for the last few years trying very hard to get this process simplified across the country, pan-India. And we have submitted our white paper and a proposal to the Urban Development Ministry so that the whole process can be online, a single window clearance can be done and simplified. But the issues are, again, different states have a different kind of policy outlook on this. And although we've been trying very hard, but not much has been achieved, and unless the state governments realize that this adds to the holding cost of the property as well as delays, there's a major inflation in the price of the property, construction cost during this can't happen. And they have to really understand that the simplification process will help to reduce the prices or even bring the prices much easier on the customer, plus kickstart growth parallelly. So both the things can happen together. So we are trying our best, but somehow the policymakers are not understanding this. And secondly, a lot of discussion has to happen on the amount of taxes this industry pays in terms of cost reduction. Unless they look at that point seriously, I think the costs can't come down, because overall input costs are going up, labor costs are going up, and there is inflation in the country. So unless we speed up the process, we rationalize the taxes, the costs will remain where they are.
Okay, so let me then just come to, I think, solutions which are required. I think problems are known to everybody. Everybody is part of the industry. So I'm going to then try and focus on what do you do to reboot real estate today. Getamber, let's start with you. What is it which is required immediately? I mean, this isn't going anywhere. I've been doing the show for 2 years, and I think we've been talking about exactly the same problems for the last 2 years.
See, immediately we are in the ICU.
You are in an ICU. You're accepting that.
The country.
Okay.
And we are the doctors. We can do something.
I understand.
Aren't we? Come on, acknowledge us. Immediately what needs to be done is to get a positive sentiment.
Right.
Media, politicians, policymakers need to say, housing is going to help this country grow, get the GDP up. You guys shouldn't wait for, the economy. It's not going to collapse. Go and buy that property if you have to buy it. Don't just sit there because it's not going to get any cheaper. So this is what has to be done right today, tomorrow. I mean, whenever the policymakers should come forward, politicians should come forward and say, the economy is not in such a bad shape. We can still haul it out of where it is. But for this one industry which can really play the game changer, as the theme says, is real estate and construction. Go ahead. If you have to buy a house, go ahead and buy that house. Don't wait. This is the message that should go out today.
You mentioned an interesting point, and I'm going to take off from there. I understand there's inflation, and I understand that land prices aren't going down. But Lalit, come in here and tell me, there is this inherent idea in the buyer's mind that prices have to come down. They've gone up, they've run up too much, and prices have to come down. Irrespective of what we play a role as media and say, look, all these things mean that prices may not come down, why is it so well established in their mind? Is it that prices have run up too fast?
Who is the culprit? Prices have gone up. We would expect, if we would be very happy if you could supply housing stock at cheaper price. But what has happened over the last 3 years? All state governments happily taxed this sector through stamp duty, through VAT, increasing stamp duty rates, increasing ready reckoner rates, guideline rates, 20% every year average across the country. Second, states like Maharashtra, in one city of Mumbai overnight, 15% of sale value is recovered in the form of fungible FSI. Now, if government has become, if I can say, extortionist, then who helps the consumer? So here, Raja Vyapari, Praja Bhikari. The problem is, the easiest way to earn revenue out of public is real estate sector, because they cannot start their work and they are embodied with huge capital investment. Therefore, they have to pay. The prices go up. Also, last 2 years, overall cost increase is 60%. So labor cost, material cost, and now these taxes. Therefore, what is not being reasoned with consumers at media level is that, look, costs have gone up.
Yeah.
In fact, costs have gone up, and if you see the balance sheets of listed entities, the 45 EBITDA has come down to 15 EBITDA. The net profit has gone below 5%. So there is no scope for price reduction. That's the problem. And on the first trigger, the prices will shoot up because what has happened now? The supply has gone up. The recent report, research report says the approvals have gone down by 40%. The launches have gone down by 25%.
Absolutely.
So supply is down. No sooner you get a trigger by rate reduction, the good sentiment, etc., what will happen? Again, speculative elements will come in and prices will go up. Therefore, there has to be a reasonable, rational approach at the level of all sectors of government, municipality, state government and central government. And we need to really work out how approval process can, period can be shortened. Because McKinsey says 40% component is just due to delays.
Delays, okay. So I think what I'm hearing is that, okay, there is no room for real estate prices to come down. There is a slowness in the market and offtake, and therefore launches have come down. So what are we staring at? Sushil, Mantri, we are staring at probably a bigger shortage in housing. And so far, we always believed as a country that the housing shortage was only in the EWS segment and low income group. Are we at all talking about shortage in, let's say, premium segment or luxury, or there's too much enough of it right now?
See, I'll reply to your question in 3 parts. This real estate industry is on a fundamental, depending on a fundamental, that every investor who is buying from us, like a homeowner or an actual user or maybe an investor who want to put it on rent, they expect price to go up. Even a media, when they say that tomorrow market looks bad because prices may not go up. So I think it's wrong to say that prices should come down because everybody wants prices to go up. Now, moderate going up is always better. Now, what can be done? Today, this industry is, one is, as Lalit has mentioned, lot of hurdles has been created. But I think if these hurdles can be removed, it can be very easily done. I always give an example, like a chartered accountant certify, income tax department accept the numbers.
Yeah.
A doctor certify this person is having so-and-so problem or he is dead, government recognize. A lawyer give a title certificate, government recognize. When architect, who is also gone 5-year, given a study, he is called professional, why his signature is not recognized by any of the government department? This is the only industry where architect says this is as per the law, but there are 100 government authorities are checking and proving that how it is not as per the law. So what is the objective of government? If they are really looking for a speedier growth, because today the general approval time is average 2 years. Somewhere it is 3 years also. Now if you take 2 years and there is no land financing available, that is a heavy cost money we are using, which is about say 20-24% interest. If the approvals are given with the architect's signature, and within 3 to 6 months we can complete all the procedure. My opinion, I think the real estate prices can come down straightway by 20 to 25%, because which is a national loss.
So here's the question, will you pass it on to the consumer if at all that happens?
100% will pass on to the consumer because our market size will go 4-folds. Why we will not pass on to the consumer?
Okay.
And that will increase the supply. Housing is in a deep shortage. That necessity we are going to supply. Definitely lot of consumer and every citizen of India will be benefited. And this is another beauty of this industry. We sell the apartments to the non-resident Indian. They bring the dollar and still asset remain inside the country. We are far superior than exporters. But are we treated like that? We are never treated and invited on the dais by any government organization like they call to the other exporters.
Absolutely.
I think we are doing far superior job. And we are giving a property to our customer which is appreciating. Against that, we are taking depreciating rupee. I think this is a noble work we are doing.
No, No, I get that. I think, Mr. Reddy, from you, I'd like some solutions. Okay, so approval processes, we can keep lobbying, we can keep getting together, and we hope that the government and policymakers will hear our voices. It's happening rampantly. I mean, I think most industries are in this logjam and are worried about several things could be different on a policy level. But as a developer community itself, if you were to reboot demand, what are the couple of things that you can do? What is in your hand?
Basically, 3-4 issues, what other friends also said. One is go for the online immediately, for sanction.
Okay.
That is the easiest way. The government is not spending any money. So that entire, that 40%, whatever the money we are unnecessarily loading to on the consumer, that will come down. The cost of the ultimate unit will come down. Second thing, do away with the FSI concept across the country. This is the only instrument which can reduce the land component on the total cost of the construction. So that will make definitely housing affordable. Third thing, taxation is today we are paying about 35 to 40%. We are not paying, the end consumer is paying. That has to come down to less than 15%. The government of India has to take a call on that. Because there are multiple taxations, service tax, VAT, and registration. There are three taxes that are, put on the same
so
product.
Reduce taxation, take approvals online, and there was one more that you mentioned, which was FSI.
FSI.
So let's focus a bit on...
And liberally fund it. Liberally fund it, all the developers. Without any exception, you offer them funding. That will create, the huge supply. That huge supply will definitely, in a healthy competitive market, the price will come down.
Do you feel at some level, maybe because of the close nexus between politicians and land, and it's very well known, maybe at the level of builders and developers, that's easing out, but at the land level, there's a lot of nexus. Is that what's, the stakes are so high, everybody wants a pie of it, and that's the reason why policy movement is so slow?
That may not be exactly true, because ultimately the policy relaxation is a different issue compared to the land speculation market.
Okay.
So policy issues are basically in terms of direct backlash, what they feel could happen if the land policies are changed or the sanction policies are changed in terms probably of the vote bank. But I think a major issue which we need to address for this rebooting this industry is a change of perception, where media has to play a major role, because what is happening is...
He's smiling when he's looking at me. All right.
No, because what is happening is that we are talking about a lot of oversupply in the market, unsold flats, inventory and things like that. But what is really inventory? Really inventory is basically flats which are ready, which are unsold, which I don't think any major market in India has a major problem on that. What if you're talking about a work in progress as inventory, I think somewhere this perception is being played up in a way which the customer feels the prices could come down. And this has to change, because real estate always has a work in progress which takes 3 to 5 years for a large project to get completed in our country. So that perception needs to be changed, and we really need to understand what is the level of inventory and vacancy in India, so that the perception in the customers...
What is it?
It's not very
Are they
high.
vacant homes? I mean, you see a headline, and of course, it's not my favorite paper, but we are all compelled to read it, where the finance minister says there's so many, lakhs of units lying vacant across India.
That is what I'm trying to get at, is that so many lakhs of units are basically work in progress. Projects which are launched is going to be completed in the next 3 to 5 years. It's not flats which are ready or ready to occupy. So that's where the perception is wrong.
Okay. I'm a little bit worried, Getamber, at this moment. It's not just the approval which is a challenge. On the job front, people are worried. Okay. So where even though 50% of household savings in India still go to real estate, and that's a big cushion for the sector as a whole, more and more when I talk to people and friends and family around them, if they're going to be unhappy about their job and job situation, if the interest rates are going to be in double digit, and you're saying that there is no room for prices to come down, to me it seems like, how do you revive demand then? How do you, and you have to, isn't it?
See, this is a created problem.
Okay.
Aaj jobs, kyun nahi, why are people insecure? Do we not have a domestic demand? Is there not an opportunity today? We are fools not to exploit that opportunity. And if today the situation has come to this, who is to blame? And I want to tell all friends here today, Manisha, we keep saying, कि हम बोलते रहते हैं, we meet at forums and we keep saying and nothing happens. Friends, things do happen. We are collected here more than 1,000 members today, and people, government is listening, policymakers are listening, that these guys have some sense in what they're saying.
Absolutely.
A single window clearance was pushed by us. Hoopa has constituted a committee. Now that takes time, the committees take time, but things are being noticed, that there is pain in the industry, things need to be done. Wherever we go to government, they say, yes, we understand there is a problem. There is a problem from the government side, they accept it. And today with such a big voice, they very well hear, because we are here to actually, make them realize the opportunity which is existing and they're not using it. So we guys have to keep getting together like this. We have to talk to Manisha. Manisha has to get our views across to government. And we will get there, I promise you.
I did get Ajay Markan on camera to say double-digit FSI. Unfortunately, the portfolio changed. So we now need to work with a new set of minister and after May, a new set of government. Do you think, I don't want to get into any controversial issues, but in terms of a political mindset change, Lalitji, how do you get to that? Is it not so obvious if America thinks, or US, the world's largest economy, focuses so much on housing index? We don't even have a housing index.
The paradigm change is needed. What has happened is, due to past experiences, cloud, the image of this community was a little untouchable types. However, this is not ignorance on the part of those who are sitting in bureaucracy. It is ignorance on the part of policymakers in politicians.
Right.
Because they have never understood importance of housing sector in this country. US, which is a developed nation, has 20 times GDP contribution, 20 times per capita investment. A country like Thailand, Philippines, they have more than 4 times us per capita investment into housing. Now, issue is the politicians and people who decide have to be very convinced, or they have to be coming out of that shell of ignorance. 2, issue lies in the mindset of key ministries. Like Finance Ministry, a task force submitted a report on affordable housing. Now we have a shortage of 18.78 million units. The Minister Housing, we understand, went to Finance Minister and asked for certain policy support, concessions. It was ignored. Issue is, unless this sector gets a very, very strong minister who is proactive, who has a very level-headed approach towards growth, can move the entire sector, and not only sector, the country's economy. Therefore, what we need is a very strong leader and we need to club housing and urban development ministries and get a very, very strong, one of the top 3 guys in cabinet to head that department. So that is one change which is required. And there are 4 types of reforms. One, administrative reform, everybody talked. Now, how do we do banking reforms on supply side and demand side? Today, the interest rates have gone up to 10.5%. Now, with inflation increasing, there is very little scope for a person to have additional income, or what you call surplus income, to support EMI. Now, therefore, interest rates have to come down to 7.5%, and which actually saw a huge growth between 2004 to 2007. Third, no, I don't think so. In fact, what Sushil said, increased supply side is the key to reducing inflation, and that is very, very correct. Third, we talk about mindset reform. Besides other sectoral reforms, land reform is talked about, where FSI increase and land regulation and unifying all those scattered 200 odd laws which affect this sector. And mindset reform. Why we cannot hold one officer who is dealing with individual file, and why every file cannot mention that what is the revenue contribution to various stages of government, corporation, state government, central government, that is GDP contribution. And how much employment this file is going to generate. And hold them accountable.
I think we need to keep driving that bit. Okay, so I'm going to just wrap up now with everybody's wish list and what is at the top of their mind when it comes to rebooting. Mr. Patodia, if there was one thing you would want to change right away and wish that it would happen as of yesterday, what would it be to reboot real estate?
One
and the
thing
economy?
is faster sanctions.
Approvals.
The faster approval is the first thing which we think should happen. And along with that, relaxation of FSI so that the land shortage or the supply shortage can also be addressed at the same time.
Okay, so 2 points, Mr. Reddy.
On the rebooting?
Yes.
No,
One.
basically,
Approvals, FSI, 2 solutions we have. What would you want?
the third one is it has to be liberally funding, like agriculture sector you do the funding. You know, see actually there are no MPS, much MPS in our sector. And I want to quote you, entire our industry, our bank contribution exposure is 3%, that is about 1,26,000 crores for entire industry. And we are surprised.
Why is there so much distrust between, with RBI, banks and real estate?
No, I'm saying one group in the country has a debt of equivalent to entire our industry, 1,13,000 crores, one group. And 10 top industrial groups has 6,30,000 crores debt. And every weekend or fortnight, month end, finance minister, RBI, almost they're threatening the bankers. Yeah. Don't fund it to this sensitive industry. But this is the industry where everybody is talking, not only here across the globe talking, this is the industry where it gives more GDP, more revenue, more employment.
So you're saying funding has to be eased up?
Funding has to be liberal.
All right. Liberalized funding is...
And provided it can be even, some countries, even Singapore, they give less than the cost price, a unit.
All right, subsidy will come much later, but let's just hope for funding. Yeah. Sushil, Mantri, your last word.
See, I feel my wish is, in industries, there are all the things they apply for, so many permissions are applicable, but within 30 days, if they don't get, it is deemed to be okay. I think in real estate, we want deemed to be okay, and that is 30 days.
That's a nice, good thought.
In single level, we can solve all the problem.
Getamber.
No, I feel that if immediately the RBI comes out with a statement tomorrow, saying that, stop saying that this is a sensitive, dangerous industry. They should come out with a statement tomorrow saying that real estate, we recognize, is an opportunity we could actually use to push this country forward. And banks should lend, like Shekar said. Give them capital, because now we have changed. We are well governed, we are compliant, we are organized. So the RBI should come out with a statement saying that lend to them, give them capital, and let them bring in more supply into the market, let the industry grow, let the economy grow. That's my wish.
I promise I will definitely try to get Raghuram Rajan to meet the industry.
Lovely, thank you.
I think that's one. No, true, because with a new governor, with new ideas, he's come from a place where housing and construction is given its due importance. But I will have the last word from Lalit ji.
Conviction at the level of Office of Prime Minister, who is convinced that yes, my departments in housing and urban development ministry, whatever they say is right. Because there are 3 committee reports which are lying there, maybe in cupboards now. One is simplification of processes, one is affordable housing, and one is rental housing. The committees have sat through and we have contributed. Conviction of Prime Minister to implement what their department says. It is right.
It's all right. So you're saying that at the Prime Minister level, we need a hearing and we need them to consider. Well,
action.
For that, we will have to wait at least 7 more months. I don't think the current government has any focus on it, unfortunately. And you also have, I mean, look at it. Look at the winter session of Parliament, and it's a Dutch session.
Such are at the time when such Prime Ministers can act. Why not try now? Will not wait.
Actually, maybe this is the right time. I think on that hopeful note, I'm going to conclude this extremely interesting session and thank my panelists, Harsh Patodia, Mr. C.S. Reddy, Lalit Kumar Jain, Getamber, Anand, and Sushil Mantri. Gentlemen, thank you very much for having us as media partners, because yes, we will try and change the perception, and we will hope that rebooting real estate and rebooting India happens sooner than later, because after all, your job, my job, and the economic prosperity of the country depends on it. Thanks very much for joining me on this special session.